Hello everyone and welcome to this exam tips video for P5 relevant to your upcoming June 2018 exams. First and foremost, may I highlight that on paper P5, question spotting is particularly challenging and difficult because there's a deliberate attempt to try and outwit any expectations we may build on what's expected in the upcoming exam. The examiner is aware that students try to question spot, and he does try to sort of discourage that, and he's repeatedly said that in the examiner's reports as well. So in view of that, the topics I'm listing out here are core topics that are the backbone of P5, and ones that, if you are able to review, will enable you to answer most of the questions in the exam, irrespective of specific areas that may come up. This combination of topics I'm mentioning should enable you to be well prepared for the upcoming exam. Evaluation of KPIs and dashboards, or evaluation of reports, has always remained a core topic on P5. You're given a report or a set of indicators in what the examiner calls a dashboard, and you're asked to evaluate, is this dashboard good enough? What's positive about it? What's negative about it? What's good about this report? What's bad about this report? A large part of that is down to linking what you're having within the report, the indicators, with the objectives of the company. And also in the context of who's reading it and how useful it is. Do you have a comparative? Is it concise? Is it relevant to the audience? So these are the kind of comments that you should be making. There are sufficient practice questions from past exams to enable you to prepare for this. Another key area that often tends to come up in the exam is evaluation of reward systems. Now, typically you could use the building block model, or one block within the building block model, to try and form a framework for reward system evaluation. Please bear in mind, you can go much beyond what is there in the building block, but as a starting point, you may want to think about the 3 parameters you always use to evaluate rewards. And one of the key aspects the examiners always wanted you to think about in the context of evaluating a reward system is controllability. Are people being rewarded based on controllable factors? And there may be suggestions asked on how the reward system can be improved and so on. There are certain models such as the building block that I just mentioned, and the balanced scorecard and the performance pyramid, which you might be asked to use as a framework in evaluating the performance measurement system within the company. Now, this would mean, just like in the report or the dashboard I mentioned earlier, a number of KPIs are given, and you are asked to talk about either, does these set of KPIs, or do these set of KPIs effectively, are they fit for purpose? And you're asked to use one of these models to evaluate that. So that would effectively mean ensuring that all aspects of these so-called models, such as, let's say, the balanced scorecard has 4 perspectives. Are these 4 perspectives covered within the KPIs? Are they, and the KPIs that have been identified, are they appropriate within the headings within the balanced scorecard, and are they yet again linked up to the goals and objectives of the company? So you might be asked to evaluate the performance measurement system using the model as a framework. While at the same time, you could be asked to talk about challenges associated with implementing some of these models, the information collection and setting the right KPIs. There are a number of challenges that you may face. You may be asked to talk about that as well. Activity-based management, which builds on basic activity-based costing to make decisions, can also be a topic that gets examined in P5. You could be asked to do a few small calculations, but most importantly, discuss how activity-based management is useful to the organization and how it can be used to improve performance. Business process re-engineering is another key topic which has remained largely under-examined in the recent past, and you could be asked to talk about, here's a business process re-engineering change we're bringing about. What's the impact of this on the company? You could talk about the positives and the negatives. 2 other final topics I will mention that do come up occasionally and fairly consistently is value for money, where you are asked to evaluate the performance of typically a not-for-profit organization using the 3 E's. So you will be asked to effectively sometimes compute a measure for economy, effectiveness, efficiency, and comment on it. And often there's a benchmark for you to compare and contrast against. You may also get questions on risk and uncertainty. Effectively, you will be asked to evaluate or identify the risk appetite of any stakeholder in a company, typically the shareholder, the managers, and you'll have to look at parameters in the questions to figure out, are they risk takers, are they risk averse? And as an add-on on the back of that, or even separately, the examiner could give you a problem scenario where you have to make a choice between, say, how many units you produce or what kind of machine you buy, any business decision where there's some uncertainty on what the outcome is going to be. You may have to prepare a payoff table which shows profits of various outcomes and then apply rules like maximax, maximin, minimax, regret, or expected value, and try and come up with an appropriate decision that is consistent with the risk appetite of the company, its managers, its shareholders. In terms of calculations, the exam is probably going to have about somewhere between 25 and 30%, 20 and 30% of calculations. The rest of it is generally written content, discussion, analysis. What can you be asked for about 20 to 30% of the marks in the exam? Typical calculations that tend to come up are calculations of profit of a product or over the life of a project. Simple calculations where you put in the revenues, deduct the cost. If it was based on something like ABC, they probably one or two of the costs allocated based on cost drivers. And then you work out the profit of each product. Another common calculation is a cost-benefit analysis. Typically, say, like in the context of BPR, you might be given a change and said, what are the costs, what are the benefits? Can you tell us whether we should go ahead or not? Break-even point calculations can also figure up for maybe a mark or two. It's not worth much, but it could be part of a larger calculation. Another common way the examiner tends to put in numbers is to ask you to do specific KPIs. Now, this may be within the VFM, value for money question that I mentioned, where you're asked to calculate indicators for the 3E's, or it may just effectively be 5 or 6 KPIs related to a company for which the necessary information would be given. So that sort of summarizes the key areas that you need to ensure you're really good at going into P5. Make sure you practice questions to time. As long as you manage time and you write sufficient quantity of points for the available marks, you do stand a very, very good chance of passing the exam. Make sure you plan your answers before you start. Don't rush into it. Try to break up the requirements. Plan your answer. Be very systematic with the time discipline and ensuring you don't overrun time on a question, so that you complete, get the easy marks on all the requirements across the paper. All the very best for your exam and good luck.